We got four of us. Chris is probably showing up late. You know how Chris does. But folks, man, we got a hell of an episode today. But prior to starting all this, folks, hit that like button, man. Wipe your feet before you come in my house, man. Hit that like button, okay? Like, comment, subscribe, everything to the SEC Connect, man. We're trying to bring you some of the best content, and I cannot wait till the football season starts because it's about to get real. What's going on, fellas?
What up?
Yes, sir.
What's good? What's good?
Man, it's been
Excited
a
to jump
while.
in.
Well, first off, folks, Ty just got married a couple weeks ago, man. So if you're on here, hey, just give him a clap and a round of applause for going ahead and making that huge ass step. Yeah.
Congratulations, my
no
guy.
no longer an available man.
All right, man. But look, today's going to be a very quick episode, about an hour. And I know, folks, we talk about the SEC a lot, but folks, we're going to start off with something I think is very huge here for the college football landscape. And that is Colorado going to the Big 12 in the start of the 2024 season. Jay, you brought this up in the chat, so I'm going to let you go ahead and start off with this one, man.
All right, I got a video that's actually launching on my channel right now, so you can watch me and actually our boy Preston Gann from the PG Show talk about this too, but we're going to keep talking about it because this is a huge deal. Pete Thamel from ESPN dropped a tweet about an hour and a half ago and said that there was conversations and actual real-life conversations about Colorado looking to move to the Big 12. And what was intriguing about it was they were having a meeting this evening, which is Wednesday night. The Big 12 was to discuss expansion was on the agenda, and Colorado was doing a similar type deal. Well, as I'm going through and recording and talking about this, Brent McMurphy from the Action Network drops a bomb and says, "Oh, it's official. They're going. It's a done deal. They're going to get the $31 million share from the Fox ESPN media deal, and they'll start playing in the Big 12 in 2024. What the heck? I was not prepared for that. That was not. I'm in the middle of a sentence, and I'm just like, what is this? So, guys, we had to talk about it because there's two folds behind it. One, the prime effect of him going to the Big 12 after Oklahoma and Texas leaves, I feel like it's probably a very much underrated thing to talk about, especially with thoughts of how the Big 12 is gonna struggle with mom and dad basically being there anymore. You know what I'm saying? The pillars of the Big 12 are gone. But I'm curious to what y'all's thoughts on what it's going to look like for the Big 12 going forward, bringing in Coach Prime, and potentially what other schools would they go after if they want to wrap it up and keep it at 14 teams?
Ooh, hey, guys, you know what? Look, I want to go with this one, man. I think this is perfect for Colorado. I think this is perfect for the Big 12. Like you say, they get that star-studded name power, with Coach Prime. And then, folks, just look at Colorado. What has Colorado done since they left the Big 12? Nothing.
They had one good year. I think they went to the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah,
that's about it.
That's about it. The thing about Colorado, when they left the Big 12, they severely missed their old Texas recruiting grounds. They were able to go into mom's living room, sit on her couch, and tell them that, look, even though your kids coming to Colorado, you're still going to get to see them play 3 or 4 times a year. It's going to be within driving distance. You're going to play Tech. You're going to play TCU. At the time, Texas, Oklahoma, Baylor. Look, that's 5 teams in the Big 12. Now you take away Oklahoma and Texas, you add U of H. So you got U of H, TCU, Texas Tech. You're still going to have teams that are there, Oklahoma State, to where parents that are in that area can drive and see their kids play at least 3 to 4 times a year. So I think it was essential, for them to go do this. This is perfect because it puts them in the right spot in a big Power 5 conference as well, especially with USC leaving, and also, UCLA leaving as well, going to the Big 10. That Pac-12 is going to be dead here, folks, in the next couple of years, and Colorado's looking for their exit plan.
No, that's valid. I think go ahead. I'm sorry, Steven. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick. So, from a regional standpoint, Colorado's taken on TCU this year, right? So they're already, even from an out of conference standpoint, that's who they open with. and the ties that they previously had in the Big 12, the prime effect in Texas and in that region. I mean, prime effect is across the country, but the other thing though is the indictment on the Pac-12 or wherever it's going. I mean, this is the same conference that was meeting with the CW and Tubi to try to find a partner for games. That this is where these people are at right now, right? And it's more to come with wherever Washington ends up in the Oregons of the world. I think it's a more of a matter of when, not if, for the rest of the Pac-12 conference.
I think there's two conversations we need to have here. One that we're absolutely having, and that's what this means for Colorado and why this is a good move. We're all 100% correct, Stephen. I couldn't agree with you more. The Pac-12 is on borrowed time. When they go, I'm not completely sure, but at the same time, I mean, they were negotiating with basically everybody that would listen to them. I'm fairly certain the Oprah network was in play at one point. It's just not good right now. Everybody else has some level of certainty, and they're just playing with money right now. But the other conversation is that the Big 12 didn't do what the Pac 12 is doing. What we're up here getting after the Pac 12 for doing is essentially inaction. They got slapped in the face when two big brands were leaving, and they've sat on their hands ever since and thought everything would come to them. That's not how this is going. The Big 12 heard that two of the top brands, not in their league, in all of college football, were leaving their conference, and they didn't sit on their hands and say, what comes next? They went out and got four teams. Now, the four teams they got didn't make up for the loss of Texas and OU, but it was the fact that they were showing everybody we're not going to sit around and be complacent. Now they get a Colorado, which I think is a great move. We ask another team that would come in. I've said this before. I've said this to Jay multiple times. I would love for Utah to join the Big 12. You get the BYU-Utah rivalry at the Power 5 level. I just think that'd be fantastic, and it'd replace a rivalry in Texas-Oklahoma. So from a monetary standpoint, you would get that as well. But I just think that good for Colorado, good for the Big 12 for not sitting on their hands and being passive.
Yeah, man, exactly, man. Look, there's a comment here from Steve. So Stephen Houston said, so Colorado leaving the Big 12 for the Pac-12 was the worst move in realignment history. It never made any sense. Yeah. That is true. It made no sense at all.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny with that comment? And it's gonna be weird for me to say this, but that I agree with. Nebraska leaving actually made a lot more sense than as I think about it because of location and proximity. Now, the problem for Nebraska is that their pipeline was Texas, and you lose that once you go up north, specifically because you're never playing in Texas again. And the kids that you're probably going to lure away from a Oklahoma, a Texas, an A&M, a Houston, they're not going to be kids that would want to be away from home that far a lot. Like your top tier players are probably going to stay local. They're going to stay between those teams or at LSU or maybe at Alabama, something in that realm because they want to play, higher end football. But Nebraska going north made sense. But the problem is they just never could figure out their recruiting anymore. It just went bad. But Colorado, I think the move when it comes to recruiting is when you lose USC and UCLA, you lose the opportunity to really play in front of a lot of premier athletes in California. I mean, you still got Cal, you still got Stanford, but that's not really what you're going to get compared to a USC and UCLA. You see what I'm saying? So now you technically lose California because USC and UCLA are gone. Shift them down into Texas. They start to get Texas kids again, in which that's what Coach Prime wants. He wants Texas. He wants Florida. He wants Louisiana. He is recruiting down that Gulf Coast like a madman, looking like someone that is trying to build a team that can actually win and make it to the playoffs. This is huge for them, but it's funny because I think about that with Nebraska and how bad of a move we really thought it was. But at the same time, logistically, it made sense.
I think with Nebraska, too, another piece to that was they were such a big global brand at that point still that I thought they would at least go the route of still being able to recruit those big Midwestern offensive linemen kind of get up to times offensively. We know what they were doing with their option attack back then, and college football kind of evolved. But they weren't even able to recruit the trenches the way Iowa has and Notre Dame was able to continue to do. So they even fell out of touch there. Once you fall out of touch completely, and then you start having coaching turnover over and over, I mean, that's just doom and gloom for your program. I think the other thing that's interesting is, and I keep thinking about where we will be ultimately with super conferences and whatnot. And Ty made a great point about the Big 12 at least being active and continue to take schools, good schools, right? Good schools across different sports, not just football. The Big 12 is still going to be, even with them losing Texas and OU, they're still going to be the premier basketball league as far as I'm concerned, even with us leaving. So they've taken some really, really good programs and made themselves something. Do they go and attack some of these Arizona schools? Because at this point, the rest of these Pac-12 schools, especially the people that are not talking to the Big Ten, because in my mind, I'm thinking people like Washington, Oregon, I feel like it's inevitable that they align themselves with the Big Ten. I don't know. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my mind, that's how I see it going. But schools like Arizona, Arizona State, Ty mentioned Utah, right? And I love that. I love Utah. Just feels like a new Big 12 school anyway. I'm really curious how it shakes out with the rest of these Pac-12 schools long term, because it does make a lot of sense for the Big 12 to then go and pursue some more.
No, and then I completely agree. As much as, this is me being a greedy SEC fan, I think Oregon would be a great brand to add in. Like, it makes no sense from any other mindset other than Oregon is a notable brand nationally. They make more sense as a Big Ten team. And if the SEC looks to expand, I look at those Florida schools as being really enticing. And then you already have Clemson in South Carolina. So the conversation about super conferences gets really interesting, because you look at a conference like the Pac-12 and you're like, you might be done. And then we have to have an interesting conversation sometime in the future, maybe about the ACC. Because regionally, like I said, the Florida schools, the SEC is going to want to complete that trio. They're going to want Florida State and Miami. And at the point where they want Florida State and Miami, why not grab Clemson?
Hey, man, let me tell you something this too, man. The funny thing about all this is it's starting to look like the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are going to have a significant merger. And this is stuff that has been talked about over the last, 15 years or so. There's always a lot of, just a lot of, talks about Big 12 and the Pac-12 joining together. There's a lot of angst against that, because people were talking about the travel schedules and the times. And do you really want to play a game in California and have people, stay up to 2:00 in the morning watching the game? Pac-12 after dark was a cool thing when Reggie Bush was there, maybe Christian McCaffrey, but who else watched Pac-12 after dark that wasn't on the West Coast when those big name players weren't there? We can argue that Pac-12 after dark cost Christian McCaffrey his Heisman Trophy. He had better numbers that year than Reggie Bush had. Let's just be honest. Now, it's just very funny to see that this is all coming ahead now, when about 15 years ago, when those talks were coming, people did not want to hear anything about it. But, I will tell you this, Prime's going to do a hell of a job if they go over to the Big 12, because for one thing, he is in Dallas 24/7 for the most part. He knows the coaches down there, almost like a Joey McGuire. People saw how Joey McGuire came to Texas Tech and did a hell of a job when it comes to his classes. Prime's going to do the same thing, but I think it's going to have a lot more flair to it because, of course, he's Deion Sanders, right? And so I'm telling you, man, this is a match made in heaven, for that school, and it's a match made in heaven for the Big 12 as well. Chris, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Not much. Obviously, I guess y'all talking about Colorado basically making the move back to the Big 12. It helps them. Don't get me wrong. It helps them. It helps them more than they could ever imagine. I would say, thinking about Nebraska, because obviously I think you kind of had to think about them in the same light, Nebraska leaving and all the rest of that stuff. I think Nebraska is going to be fine in the Big Ten, especially since they got Matt Rule. I think everybody on this panel can agree Matt Rule's a really good coach. Mm-hmm. I think Deion's a good coach, but we still got to see what kind of product is he going to have out there. He's going to have his connects and all the rest of that stuff and be able to go back and say, hey, we're going to play Texas schools. We're not just going to play TCU once every few years. Now we're going to play them every year, right? So he's going to be able to do that. It's going to be great. I don't necessarily know if it brings like a true pipeline there. I still want to see him get out there and get busy and get into deep recruiting with battles with a lot of these teams. But I do think it's going to be fun. The one thing that is still driving the Big 12, regardless of what's been said and how they feel about OU and Texas, I'll say this right here. The one thing that's driving them, in my opinion, is simply the fact that you just don't know who the hell is going to run the league after OU and Texas leaves, right? Because the thing is that when OU and Texas are good, they go on their runs. And, every year the Big 12 championship not only runs through those two schools, but that's pretty much kind of the only national championship implications that you have now. Now, with that being said, who is the team that's going to step up and actually go on like a 6-year run, a 4-year run, a 3 to 4-year run of, just Big 12 championships back to back to back, or even at least just in that game and being a staple, right? Because there's just so much unknown. Because on one hand, you may want to say K-State because Kleiman's a damn good coach and you kind of like the culture they have going around there. On the other hand, I know people are not going to like this. It's kind of unpopular, but I still say Oklahoma State. There's no reason why Mike Gundy should not be running this league. Then you talk to like Nick and Steven.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, you say, Nick and Steven would probably say Texas Tech. You say Coach McGuire. Then some people.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Some people would say, well, hello, Baylor's still there. Dave Aranda's still there. And then Sonny Dykes. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Big 12 goes, because if you thought these past couple of years the Big 12 conference itself was as a whole really just cannibalistic, wait until OU and Texas leave in 2024. It's about to get really crazy.
Exactly. But folks, look, we went like 20 minutes on that topic. Hey, this is a hell of a topic, folks, because this is going to be something that's going to shake the landscape of college football up. This is going to be something that's going to start it. It already started with USC going over to the Big Ten, down, also UCLA. And folks, I think we all understand that more teams are going to follow to the Big Ten. But now when Colorado leaving to the Big 12, I can see a lot of those Pac-12 teams are going to follow suit. So it's going to be very interesting. I like the idea. Maybe the schools from Arizona going as well. And I just think it's going to be a fun league. It's going to be a really fun league. That's going to be a hell of a fun league to see Coach Prime back in, Texas coaching again with this team. And plus I have a cousin that plays for Colorado, so I'll be looking. So, but folks, let's go to the next topic at hand. I'm going to skip around. Let's talk about some recruiting. And the guy I want to talk about, and I think Ty probably wants to talk a little bit more about this to me, but 5-star linebacker DeMarcus Riddick just decommitted from Georgia and switched his commitment to Auburn. There was scuttle in the background that he might have gone to Alabama, and then out the blue, he commits to Auburn. What's your things on that, Ty?
Before Ty says that, I don't think Ty really wants to talk about this fresh off of a wedding and honeymoon and a road trip. Because Chris is going to do that. That's why Ty doesn't want to talk.
Well, look.
There's a reason I did that, Jay.
All fair, but so we had one of the Bama beat writers, who I consider probably one of the best college football recruiting analysts in the game. He ended up on Message Board Geniuses, right? Because he was saying how he was talking to Riddick, and Riddick was saying how he's told several people that he wants to have fun in college. He's not worried about winning. He's told a bunch of people this. So Tim Watson's up on Message Board Geniuses. Riddick commits, and I quote, Everyone is about winning, but it's not all about winning right now for me. I could do that at Georgia or Alabama. At Auburn, I can feel at home, play early, work hard, and get to the next level. So that was an actual quote. Like, he had told people he wants to have fun in college, which is why he went away from Georgia, why he went away from Alabama, more linear path to playing. So, like, he is a beast. I've told Jay he is a guy that I want in this class so bad. But I don't know if that's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, I just,
You're
That's
fair.
a
It's
tough
fair.
one. That's good for Auburn, man. What a win for Hugh Freeze. If you're an Auburn fan, not only do you get to keep a 5-star linebacker away from Alabama, which is sweet, but you flip him from Georgia. So it's like your two biggest rivals you just got to win over. So I can imagine the Auburn fan base is over the moon, and deservedly so. Like I said, Jay, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I had him as a must-land prospect for Alabama in this class. That's how much stock I put in his game. He is a beast. I'd love to have him. But yeah, it is what it is. If he feels like Auburn's home, hats off to the kid. He's going to be a beast for Auburn, no doubt.
Hey, Ty, but this my only like pushback on that is, what kind of kid are you getting in your program when he says that he doesn't care about winning? I mean, like, think about that. You know, like, think if Bryce Young was like, yeah, I don't want to go to Alabama. I don't care about winning. I'm going to go play at Troy, Alabama. Right? I mean, it just doesn't sound right to me, right?
I think his intention was like winning. I'd rather have the impact of like being someone who is a keystone and turning this around. But like, no, the winning isn't everything. Was just like, yeah, that's
it's the only
cool,
thing.
man. But like, yeah, damn. Yeah, so look, good for Auburn. Good win. He is going to be a problem, man. He's so talented. He's so gifted. And Georgia, I mean, they get Justin Williams. Bama, they've got Caden Jones, Sterling Dixon, and a kid from Germany that Nick Saban said he thinks would be a high 4-star, 5-star if he was in the U.S. He's from Brandon Collier's PPI recruits. Hero Canoe came from there, a tight end out at Texas A&M. Theodore came from there. Seydou Traore came from there. So really interesting what Brandon Collier is doing with PPI recruits. But I mean, you couldn't have argued with Riddick. He's going to be so good, man. Good linebacker class, but that sucks for Bama.
Jay, how about you, man?
What's fascinating with that, and you mentioned this, Ty. Yes, we talked about him a few times, and you were very adamant of he is a must-win for what you all are trying to do moving forward in the conference. And overall, I think it's huge that Hugh Freeze is starting to get that recruiting train growing. Now, I mean, we know Hugh Freeze can recruit. This is not something to surprise. He did it at Ole Miss, and he was actually winning games. It was weird, but at the same time, he was bringing in some talent, and he was able to beat Saban. And so that's kind of the purpose of why Auburn went and got him, is because everybody's chasing the guy that's given Nick Saban an L in a regular season, as if it actually translates to winning past that one game, because it hasn't shown yet, but I digress. But that to me, that battle is pretty big. Like, and you know, you're right. Who wants a kid that says that winning doesn't matter? Except for when it's a talented player that's borderline generational that we know they don't care about winning because they're that good. It's like, it's just meh. I mean, we won the game. Cool. Did I get 20 tackles? Yeah. So I think I'm happy now. So he's going to be a stat stuffer. We know that. He's going to be all over the place. I guess the biggest question for me is this additional momentum for Hugh Freeze in recruiting classes going forward that's going to lead to an actual winning product on the field?
Hey, guys, hold on real quick. Got a $5 chat here from Chicken 1515. Chris, this is for you and Jay. Sooner Nation, scream, we want Arch, not DY 2.0. Horns down. Get the hell up out of Get him out of here.
I think everybody. I think everybody would like the prospect of Malik Murphy. Not
I want him on my roster.
Under Steve Sarkisian. Yeah.
Thank you for that Cinco, though. I appreciate it, though. Chicken 1515.
It is so good.
So this is.
I want to piggyback off I want to piggyback off of Jay's point regarding Hugh Freeze and some of the momentum, because we were talking a few weeks ago about the L they took with Cam Coleman and, you know, to A&M and how that recruitment went. And so to turn this around and land a prospect like this, I believe their first 5-star, you know, player since 2019, which sounds crazy to say out loud for Auburn in terms of a commit, but that kind of shows why they're at the Hugh Freeze point right now as a program, right? So I also think about two other thoughts I have. Number one, the old school linebackers I grew up with Auburn, it's cool to see them get those type of players. Like when I grew up watching Auburn, especially that year they went undefeated with Jason Campbell and and Ronnie Brown and those guys in Cadillac. Remember, they had like Carlos Dansby at linebacker. They've had Dontarius Thomas.
Stacked rosters.
They did. They have.
Dude, when you go back and look at those linebacker cores they had, it was insane what they used to get. So to see them get back to that. Now the winning comment about I don't care about winning. The boy just being honest, okay? And here's the reality. As we have more access to athletes in a podcast, you don't look, a lot of people aren't going to like it. I get it. I totally get it. However, and I'm making an analogy real quick. Pat Beverly on his podcast made it very clear 50% of the players in the NBA don't love basketball. So they just there to get checks. They're just there to get 50%, right? And so in football, I know that's the case. It might be worse, especially when you think about what football gives kids or the aspect of I'm just trying to get to the league. I need to get on the field, and coaches realizing, all right, I might need some mercenaries to come in here to fill a role where it's mutually beneficial. I'm trying to win. They're trying to get to the league. They got to play well. So it works and fits for us. I think we're just at this point where people are a little bit more forward and honest, but the reality is even teams that have won championships, there are players on that team that really didn't care if they won or not. They just were contributors because it fit their agenda and it fit the coach's agenda. Just the reality.
Guys. All right, man. One more thing. Another Cinco, and Chris, you can read all that stuff right there.
As soon as they're to go through the fire. All in, baby. Boomer.
Get that out of here.
Appreciate you, Bishop, on that one. That's the guy. He's been pulling up to everybody's channels. We love it. Yeah, it's all right. Horns down. But anyway.
I appreciate the Cinco, my friend. Yeah, but
all love.
Look, man, hey, he is a freaking hell of a talent, man. He's a top 15 player in the country. I want to piggyback too about Hugh Freeze. We all know Hugh Freeze can coach, man. He can coach. He's won wherever he's gone. I think he's going to turn Auburn around in a short span. I honestly think it's going to take him about 2 years to get them turned around to be a 9-win team. I think he's just that good of a damn coach, especially on the offensive side of the ball. He is going to configure an offensive style of play that is going to basically terrorize the SEC like it did before. And I tell you what, man, they're going to win. They're going to win fast. And they're going to put up a lot of points, and people are just going to have to overlook the things that he's done in the past. I think Auburn is fine with it. I think college football is fine with it, to be honest with you. There have been a lot of things that have been done wrong here in college football. And what Hugh Freeze has done, some of it might not be ethically great, but it's not uncommon. So, he just got caught. So it is what it is. Auburn's going to win a lot of games here pretty soon, man. And I'm kind of excited to see how that team's going to prosper. Chris, how about you, since you are the Auburn resident Auburn fan?
All I was going to say, I was just going to go directly to you, Nick, and say, what was the comment that he made? He doesn't care about what?
Winning.
He doesn't care, but he's going to learn, right? Am I right, Ty? He's going to learn about winning at Jordan Hare pretty often, right? I think I'm right about that.
Recent history would say otherwise.
I don't know, 2010, I think that's not too far back, just
13 years.
Just letting you know, Ty.
That's all 15 years old.
All right, Bishop Frank DR. Thanks for the other Cinco, man. Hey, look, I can read this one. Let's go. SEC connection, never flinch, lead by example. Those aren't BV quotes, are they, Jay?
Of course they're BV quotes. Got him to read them, baby. Yes.
Get that out of here.
I love it. But no, I guess to wrap things up with this one, man, it's gonna be interesting seeing, because there's a lot of really good coaches in the SEC right now, especially one, and then you add Oklahoma and Texas into that. Man, coaching is probably at its best right now. There's a lot of coaches that they're propelling teams that, kind of surprises us. And I'm kind of curious to see who's going to end up finally falling into the bottom feeder role, especially going into the SEC and then the Big 12. Once Colorado gets there, how does that shape up? If Utah is going to get their head out of their keisters and go ahead and go there and keep the holy war going, will they finally realize what they need to do? This conference alignment's crazy right now.
Gotcha. All right, folks. And since we're talking about Auburn, we haven't done an Auburn schedule yet. So we've gone through the SEC. We've done a lot. We've done Kentucky. We've done Florida. We've done Georgia. I think we've done Bama as well. Texas A&M. But since we're talking about Auburn and their huge, their huge pickup here, let's talk about their schedule, and let's just kind of go down the list and just see what we think their actual win total here is going to be. I think Auburn is.
Look at that gauntlet. Look at 4 straight. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. They got 4 straight. I think they're 7.5, right, Jay? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So Auburn has 7.5, folks. I think we can kind of say the first game they're going to win. All right.
I mean, can we really say that? Kidding.
I think they beat Cal. Right. I don't think that's a hiccup in that. Right.
Fire everybody if they don't.
They should be Sanford. They should come out of the first 3-3-0, right? The next thing is Texas A&M at Cal.
Actually, Auburn is 6.5. My apologies.
Oh, 6.5. I thought it was 7. Okay, 6.5.
Before we dive deeper into their schedule, unless anybody has any other squirrels about UMass, Cal, and Sanford, then I think where the conversation should actually go before we start to getting to Texas A&M into that gauntlet right there, that 4-game schedule. I think we need to talk about who the hell is starting at the quarterback. I mean, who's the starting quarterback? Is it Ashford or is it the other kid? Because I mean, I think for me, that's kind of where I'm at. I think Ashford is obviously good to get you to 3-0. But before we even get to Texas A&M, you just kind of have to ask yourself, is he good? Do you believe that Ashford is going to keep that job the entire season?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I think Peyton Thorne's going to start. Didn't he transfer Michigan State? Yeah. So
Thorne's there. He's your senior. He's your most tenured quarterback on the roster.
I actually think
Sawyer Pate.
He's a better option for what Hugh Freeze is trying to do.
Yeah.
Especially the success that he's had. The success he's had. I mean, look, this is a guy that won 11 games before. What has Robbie Ashford won?
I know, but I feel like Ashford.
That's a big number.
I feel like Ashford he's a weapon out there with his legs too. I think he's a guy. I'm not saying that he's just crazy dual threat or whatever, but I think he's a gutsy guy that can get the job done. And I think he's talented. I think he's probably your most talented quarterback, maybe your most talented quarterback on the roster right now.
He's also a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah,
so technically, you can let Thorne play and then bring Robbie up to speed to the playbook and toss him out there for this season and next season.
I mean, if you go back to their spring game, I don't know if y'all watched their spring game a whole bunch, but I mean, don't get me wrong, it was raining, but nobody looked good. What'd you say?
It was a monsoon out there in their spring game, but Robbie's not there yet as a passer. I mean, you think about like when Hugh Freeze was at Ole Miss and Chad Kelly, and you think about Chad Kelly, yes, he was dual threat, but his ability to push the football down the field and leverage his weapons. Peyton Thorne did that 2 years ago at Michigan State. I mean, he put up almost 30 touchdown passes at a high level. And last year, they were obviously one of the biggest disappointments, but
they regressed.
His touchdown interception ratio was still pretty decent at Michigan State.
Oh, my God. That's who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Steven. Hey, somebody mute Steven, please, because I'm not about to sit here and argue with him.
Why? No, because what you're spewing is ignorance, Chris.
All right.
You're lobbying for Robbie Ashford, who hasn't shown anything. What has Robbie Ashford done?
I'm not going to deny that fact. I'm just saying talent alone. All right? Talent alone. I'm going with Robbie Ashford.
So if Robbie Ashford was at Michigan State the last 2 years, he would have started?
You said what?
If Robbie Ashford was at Michigan State, he would have started?
You know, you want to know? You know what? That's
Come
hard
on,
to
bro.
say. That's such a different dynamic. But let's be real.
Come on, bro.
Even during that season, what did Peyton Thorne do that was so amazing to you? Even during that
He won
season, I'm
11
going off of
games.
last season. I'm gonna be more recent about his performances. I'm not impressed with Peyton
Okay,
Thorne.
last year he still was 19 touchdowns, 10 picks or something like that. I don't know his numbers off the top of my head.
He
But
ranks
some-
fifth in
something in that
Michigan
range.
State career total touchdowns, fifth in career total yards, fourth in career passing touchdowns, and third in single season passing yards, which is kind of wild considering how much he didn't play.
Ty, let's be honest. You could probably go out there and put up the same numbers. It's really got.
I think I would impress you with my ability to disappoint you, but that's neither here nor there.
You know what? Hugh Freeze doesn't bring in a guy like that if he doesn't want him to play. And you don't stack the room with talent that has those kind of numbers to not come in and play. Otherwise, Peyton Thorne could have gone to a whole lot more schools in the country and been guaranteed a starting job off top. And so I'm kind of with Steven on this one, because I think me and Steven talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I was traveling down to Alabama. It's Peyton Thorne's job to lose.
I thought it was Robbie Ashford up until the moment it was announced that Peyton Thorne was transferring. And then at that point, it's a little bit like the Alabama situation, right? Where it's at the very end of spring. And if you've already had a quarterback in there, like that doesn't answer questions, that creates more questions. And so but I don't know. I think I get what you're saying, Chris, because I agree with you. If we are saying everybody is equal, right? Everybody has started the same amount of games, passed for the same amount of yards. I think Robbie Ashford's style is more typical to what Hugh Freeze wants.
Yeah.
But Hugh Freeze wants to push the ball, like Steven said, first and foremost, no matter what. We've seen Peyton Thorne do it, not only do it, but do it effectively, right? And so, look, I'm not saying he's Chad Kelly, who's going to go up there and throw for but I do agree. I think now it is Peyton Thorne.
That's a hell of a comment there by James Trice, Ty.
That was an incredible comment.
That's crazy.
Hey,
that's wild.
It's not.
That's crazy.
Endorsed.
All right, so I think Chris is probably going to stand on his ledge on this one by himself and go for Robbie Ashford. However, let's go into week 4, going into Cal Field, Texas A&M. Who the hell wins this game, Auburn or Texas A&M?
Oh, God.
Ty, I'm going to let you start this one off.
Oh, yeah.
God. Look,
wow. I love it.
This game right here is going to be just incredible because A&M was all over the place this past year. But from a conceptual standpoint, I think A&M is closer because they have so much more continuity top to bottom. But the Petrino situation is going to be fascinating. I think I like A&M to win this game just because, I mean, they lost a boatload to the transfer portal. Guys, there's still so much talent on that team. That defensive line is ridiculously stacked with talent. And offensively, they have a 5-star quarterback who's going to be there for his second year. They've got some, hey, Texas, y'all have got an incredible wide receiver room. A&M, from a talent perspective, that's a team I don't think we talk enough about their quality of wide receiver. It's because the inconsistency at quarterback, but Moose Muhammad, Evan Stewart out there, now you add in Rube, that offense is going to be a lot of fun if it all comes together, at least. So I'm gonna pick A&M in that.
Steven, how about you, man?
I have Texas A&M winning this. The defensive line, I think, is just going to be too much for what that A&M rotation's starting to look like. And while both teams, I expect both teams to be 3-0 coming into this. And last year, Auburn won 13-10, and was really kind of those offensive issues.
It's a little seesaw game.
And it seems like their last few games have kind of been, those one score in the teens, maybe low 20s. Probably plays out the same way, but I think A&M, to Ty's point, they'll have a little bit more from the quarterback position to pull it out.
Jay, how about you?
I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Auburn. Hugh Freeze's first year. He'll figure something out to win this game. It's A&M. I don't trust anything they're doing. Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher will be fighting on the sidelines against each other. Somebody's going to throw their heads at the other. It's going to be a lot of cussing and fussing. And Hugh Freeze is going to stand on the other sideline in your face, just like on any given Sunday. So I'm anticipating Auburn to pull this one out.
Chris.
I want to say Texas A&M. Obviously, I want to say Auburn. I'm just kind of going back and forth because I think that if Auburn can, they don't have to have a great day on the ground, and I'm talking about like 200 yards rushing, something like that. But if they can control the pace of the game and kind of control that line, and I feel like Robbie Ashford, obviously, even if Peyton Thorne is the one to start, I think Robbie Ashford will have some type of packages out there where you'll probably see him. And I think that's all what is contingent upon. Can they do that? And do they have the weapons outside to really attack that? What I would say probably is Texas A&M secondary is probably the weaker part of the defense this year, correct?
I would say so. But I mean, even then, like they lost some guys to the transfer portal there. They still have some talent. Anderson is going to be in for a big year. Their safety, Bryce Anderson. I think he's very, very talented. Very excited to see what he does this year.
Yeah. I'll probably I'll go with I think I'm gonna go with Texas A&M on this one. I think because it's at home, it's simply because I think it's going to be a very sluggish game. I see both teams probably, like Steven said, I think this is going to be probably a low teens game. I think, honestly, the first team to 20 probably wins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, Chris. I think A&M wins this game. I'm a big fan of Connor Weigman. I just am. I think he's going to show some things this year. You guys know how I feel about Ruben Owens. I think he's a man child. And I love Evan Stewart as well. So, I think from the skill position side of the house, they're going to be just fine. Their offensive line was pretty damaged last year. They were hurt, very inconsistent last year. I think they'll be healthy this year. You got Cam Dewberry, you got Bryce Foster. You got a pretty good offensive line if they can stay healthy. But A&M's defense is going to kick ass this year again. So if I had to say it, I'm going to say Texas A&M.
Can I just say, can I say one last thing before y'all move on?
Yeah.
I think the entire state of Texas, especially with the teams on the forefront, UT, horns down, Texas A&M, and a couple other teams. I think you guys are really the show me state this year. As much as we talk about Texas going out there and actually, hey, you guys say you're going 11-1, 12-0, or you're going to win a Big 12 championship, this and that. Show us. Stop talking about it. You've been saying that.
I don't see the Texas Longhorns on this Auburn schedule. I could be wrong.
But I say that because Texas A&M, I feel they're in the same position. I mean, hell.
So is Oklahoma not in that position, Chris?
I'm not trying to disrespect you right now. You'll know when I am. All I'm saying
you went out of your way to make a comment.
All I'm saying is that we sit here and we say, and last time I was on the show, okay, there was a lot of Texas fans who was like, you know what? I can agree with Chris. We're in the show me state. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying Texas A&M is in the same way, in the same shape, simply because Nick just went down their entire roster and named all these 5-star and all this incredible talent, and we haven't seen diddly squat since 2020, the COVID year. So, Texas A&M is in a show me state. You got to show me before I actually believe it. I'm only giving them the wins.
What does that mean? Define show me. Define what show me means, Chris. What does that mean? Does that mean 8 wins? Does that mean 10 wins? What does that mean?
Texas A&M?
Yes.
8.
I said 8. Nah, I think it's 10 wins or above. Show me is that. With all that talent that you have on that roster and what you've been able to do in recruiting, I mean, and a lot of people think that Jimbo is a top tier coach. So in my opinion, why not aim for 10 games?
I'm gonna say 8 this year, and I think next year is their true year. That's when everybody's going to be seasoned, primed, and ready. You're going to have Weigman being a junior. Evan Stewart being a junior, all those offensive linemen being juniors as well. I think that's the year. I think they're going to shine this in 24. If
I agree.
If the coaching matches the player's potential, that's a big if, and that's what we've been talking about for the past couple months, right? If that coaching can match the talent that they've recruited. So I got 24 as being their year, talent wise and coaching wise, but I think this year they can pull off 8 wins if they do this thing right.
And if they look confident under Bobby Petrino, well, let me say this because we'll know in the first 3 games if Bobby Petrino is allowed to participate or not, or if it's if Bobby Petrino is allowed to participate, and they look more like they're in 2023 offensively, then I believe 8 or 9 wins is good enough for them this year with kind of the turnover and all the crap that they went through last year for 2020 to set up 2024. Whereas Texas set it for this year, honestly. Like that's why I'm saying they're at different levels of expectation, in my opinion, especially with how their schedules look. With the way Texas schedule looks, expectations are totally different from the way A&M schedule looks, trying to decide whether or not they want Bobby Petrino to be a part of it or not. So that's where I'm kind of drawing a line with the difference. But I know we went off on a tangent, so we can go back to
real quick. I know we're going to have to rapid fire our way through the last of these games since we got 4 really big ones here in the middle with A&M, Georgia, LSU, and Ole Miss. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this real quick. University of Oregon Executive Audit and Governance Committee, the Board of Trustees will hold a meeting Thursday at 10 o'clock Pacific time.
Oh, they going to the Big Ten.
And there's a picture floating around of Brutus with his arm around the duck. So know that you heard it here first on the SEC Connect, talking about other conferences, that there's a good chance Oregon's going to end up at the Big Ten.
That's crazy, bro. Oh, man.
Anyway.
All right. So, okay, I think we got a consensus. I think the only person that picked Auburn was Jay. But I think everybody else here picked Texas A&M. I think, Steven, you had something to say. What's going on?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
that's good. That's what, 3-1?
Yeah. So we got 3-1. Next is Georgia. I don't even
think we need to
talk about that one. 3-2. They lost.
That's good. I had already filled in the chart for y'all, and I wasn't going to change any of your answers. So they were going to lose that game regardless.
I said, you're not going. Hey,
I filled in y'all's pick for the next game as well. If that.
Okay, so can we skip down to Ole Miss?
Okay, yeah. Let's go to Ole Miss because I got LSU winning it too.
Yeah, I don't think they're beating LSU. And I didn't fill anything in.
Stranger things have happened, though. One thing I will say, they have a bye week.
Low-key rivalry right there.
They have a bye week, and they're going into LSU. I don't know who LSU plays prior to this game, but they're going to be well-rested. I think if Georgia puts a stomping on them, they're not going to play all their players, and they might give LSU a run for their money, but I got LSU winning the game, though. Ole Miss.
Fun.
LSU travels to Missouri the week before, so they'll probably demolish the Tigers.
Yeah, it's going to be okay. Yeah.
In Tiger Stadium?
Yeah.
And that's going to be a night game? It's done.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. All right. Ole Miss.
This is fun.
Chris, how about you? Let's start off with you on this one.
Ole Miss, and that was at home?
Yeah, it's at home.
I am going to give that to Auburn simply because I have a feeling that a certain somebody that we're all familiar with from the Big 12 will be starting at quarterback. And I am not a fan. And I there's no way. No, to be honest with you, I think Ole Miss could be one of the surprise teams in the SEC this year. Don't get me wrong. Do I have my reservations about Spencer Sanders? Hell yes, I do. Hell yes. That's no doubt about that. But at the same time, I think that that's going to be one of the more underrated quarterback rooms simply because they have some talented guys there that at times can get the job done. Jackson Dart may be a little bit more underwhelming than what you thought he would be with Kiffin. Spencer Sanders, at times he could be a bit electric, and then more times than none he could be inconsistent. But they have talent in that room, and I'm forgetting about. There's one more quarterback that they have there as well. For all of, I mean, Ty could tell you better than I can. I mean, Golden is there, and I think that this is going to be a great opportunity for him to kind of have his thumbprint on that defense and be able to just say, hey, look, this is me. This is me. This is my defense. I'm doing this. I have free range, free control. They could be one of the better teams in the SEC this year, but I'm still going to get this to Auburn simply because I'm just not sure. I don't know if Kiffin is sure what he has at quarterback right now.
Jay, how about you?
Chris is spot on with this one. What's the quarterback situation look like at Ole Miss? I think that's the one thing that has made things a little difficult for me in the SEC and really picking a team. Like why I'm leaning really heavy with LSU this year, because they're the only ones really returning their last starting quarterback that's been there really doing it, and the same coordinators and everything. There's been so much change with SEC schools this year, so it's really tough to figure it out. And Ole Miss ain't got a quarterback. If they start Spencer Sanders after getting Jackson Dart, which looks like Jackson Dart isn't as good as we hoped him to be, it's going to be very telling because they have, 4 quarterbacks now, which means they have no quarterbacks right now. We'll know week 1 who's going to actually be starting long-term, most likely. But, yeah, this one, to me, I feel like this is a Hugh Freeze special. He's just going to walk in here, go out to his house, and somehow win it. I think he pulls it off in back-to-back weeks, and I just don't know how he does it.
Steven.
Hugh Freeze Bowl, right? This one right here.
Yeah.
A little revenge game. So I actually think I'm going to pick Auburn on this one. I think Hugh Freeze is going to get one of these. And I think Ole Miss is the best opportunity for him to get one going against his former school. Also, Auburn before last year. So Ole Miss did beat them last season, but Auburn had won 6 straight before that against Ole Miss in terms of just dominating that series. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Auburn here. To Chris's point, though, I know I was arguing hard about Peyton Thorne. This could also be the point in the season where both teams have different quarterbacks in there from who started the season.
Yeah.
Especially going through gauntlets like especially like Auburn will go through. I could see them playing multiple quarterbacks. We can definitely see Ole Miss playing multiple quarterbacks.
Ty, how about you, man?
So I think this is really interesting because as much as we have a question about the quarterbacks, which really I think we can extend to both sides, there's one thing Ole Miss has. One, it's more continuity at the head coach with Kiffin. Now, we could argue about the consistency of Kiffin, and I think there's a very real argument to be had there. But nonetheless, they have Judkins. And that dude is different. And that Auburn rush defense is atrocious. They were ranked 100th in the nation at stopping the run last year. I have no reason to believe that a Hugh Freeze team is going to be any better at defense because Hugh Freeze teams have never been good at defense. So I look at this and I'm saying, okay, one of them has continuity at quarterback. Now, I agree with all of you. I don't know that Jackson Dart is going to be the guy. But I think that Judkins gives Ole Miss a lot of flexibility because of what a player he is. I go back to what Steven said, though, and when you said that you think that Hugh Freeze sneaks out with one of them, and I everything in me says pick Auburn. This is one where the heart is saying Auburn, and everything in my brain is like Ole Miss. So I am going to go with Auburn to pull this out, but I don't feel good about it. For multiple reasons.
I want to go with Auburn and pull this one out too. I just think Hugh Freeze is going to come pretty ready to play this game. This is his old team. I like Lane Kiffin, folks, but Lane, it's just something about Lane. It's just he's
more of a meme.
Yeah, he can shoot himself in the foot more than a couple of times. And I just think that this is opportunity. I think Hugh Freeze is going to outcoach him. I think Hugh Freeze is a better overall coach than Lane Kiffin is. And I think he's going to outcoach him, and I think he's going to win the game. And like Chris said about the quarterback position, for Ole Miss, and I think Steven said this too, if Spencer doesn't start off well or Jackson Dart doesn't start off well, this might be the game where we see a brand new quarterback playing, and do you trust a guy who hasn't taken snaps all season to come here and win a game against a guy who's going to be riled up to beat his ex team? So I'm going to Auburn with this one.
So what would their record be at this point? Was this they're 3-3 going into this game?
So Chris has them at 4-3. Nino 4-3. Jay 5-2. Me 4-3. You 4-3.
All right.
Oh, I got the one that got faith, huh? I'm about to hit the over.
There you go.
All
right. So Mississippi State. I'm gonna start this one off. I love the hires, for State. I like them elevating their DC up to the head coach. I like Kevin Barbie as a OC. I just don't think they have the necessary talent and the type of talent that Kevin Barbie wants to run his offense. I think Auburn pulls this game off. I think Auburn goes there, and I think they pull this game off here. I also think Hugh Freeze is probably going to run circles around Zach Arnett, as a head coach. It's his first time being a head coach, and Freeze has been a seasoned coach here in the SEC for some time, and then also going to Liberty. I think he pulls this one off to pull them up to 5-3. How about you, Ty?
Look, I agree. I've said it a bunch, and every time I say it, I feel guilty. But you're talking about a complete flip in philosophies from a team in 1 year, and it wasn't a situation where it was some quote unquote transition, right? Where it's like, okay, well, you weren't doing well. We knew this was coming. New coach. This was a tragedy, and now you have a complete philosophy shift. I wish all the best for Mississippi State. I'm like you. I really like Arnett. But Hugh Freeze is a veteran coach. He's been here. He's done this. He's played in this environment. Like, I don't know. I give it to Auburn.
Steven.
I'm gonna pick Auburn on this one. They're playing another one at home where they're trying to build up momentum at this point and get to bowl eligibility. And I agree with all the reasons stated before with Mississippi State in that transition. I do like Mississippi State for the season in some spots here and there, but this isn't one of them. I think Auburn actually pulls this one out.
Jay, how about you, man?
I'm going with Auburn as well. I think it's just simple to say, Mississippi State, I love the hire of the elevation. I love the hire at offensive coordinator. It's going to take them a year to get it all together, and this is the year they got to get it all together. So I'm going Auburn.
Chris.
I'm gonna go Auburn. It's gonna be a tough game, though. I think that Mississippi State is gonna play them close, simply because I mean, like I said, I'm confident in Ashford, but I'm not confident to the point where I think that they're just gonna take every team and just blow them out, or even beat a team like Mississippi State whenever they may possibly be down. So I'll go Auburn.
All right, I think we're all on Auburn. Next game is going to be Vanderbilt. Do we have to do this one, folks?
I think Auburn's got it.
I think Auburn has this one too. So that puts me at 6-3 with Auburn right now. I think Jay, you're at 7-2, right?
Yep.
Which is very realistic. I mean, they could go in and pull off that win.
Against A&M. I'm telling y'all, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's very realistic. I can't believe I'm giving A&M some props, but I mean,
I think on the flip side. I think that Ole Miss game is kind of the same conversation on the other way, though, right? Which makes this so interesting.
Yes, they'll be right there close to that number because of Ole Miss and A&M. Those two games are going to be the weird ones for them. Yeah, because they're losing to Arkansas.
Arkansas.
I want to talk about Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Steven.
Someone was talking about Vanderbilt.
I'm picking Vanderbilt in this game.
I love him. I love him so much.
I'm picking Vanderbilt.
Tell me why our Auburn will lose, please. I love it.
Fun fact: Vanderbilt lifetime versus Auburn, 21-21 and 1. They don't play all the time because SEC East, SEC West, but Vanderbilt two out of the last 3 has beaten Auburn, and I actually like the Vanderbilt quarterback, and what he showed at the end of last season, and I like Vanderbilt's coach. And I think Vanderbilt's going to have some, a couple games here and there where they're going to be really sneaky and win some games and kind of be at the cusp there. And I think this is one of those games playing in Nashville, early November. They're kind of going to be looking ahead to Arkansas and Bama at the end of the month. This is a great spot to get caught. There's going to be some upsets here. I think this is an upset where Vanderbilt beats Auburn in Nashville.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay. All right. Ty's happy.
Oh, you
All
have
right.
no idea.
Ty's happy. All right. So next game, Arkansas. Folks, I'm going to start this one off. KJ Jefferson's going to kick ass this game. They got he's too much for Auburn. You know, just like we said prior, folks, that, so Ty brought up the stat here that Auburn's run defense was in the hundreds last year. KJ Jefferson, he's a great passer, but the way that he uses his feet, man, is going to be outstanding. I think it's going to plow over him. And then I'm going to give it to Arkansas to win this game.
KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders bring it home for the Razorbacks. I mean, that's going to be a fun offense. I'm interested to see what they do at the wide receiver position. Have some losses there, but outside of that, I mean, their rushing attack is there. They got a veteran quarterback. Yeah, I like Arkansas in this.
And it's in Vietnam too, so
yeah.
Steven.
Vietnam. Wow, I love it.
Steven, how about you, man?
Where did Arkansas play Liberty at last year? I'm just curious. Where was that game?
Was it at Arkansas?
I'm just saying. I'm gonna pick Arkansas, but we I mean, this is kind of Arkansas needed to get it back in blood from Hugh Freeze, right? Like after
it was in Arkansas, yeah.
Steven, I'm so glad you brought that point up, because now Hugh Freeze is going to go into Arkansas with better talent than he had at Liberty. Ooh.
I think Arkansas is going to be more ready to play, though. I will say that, versus maybe they look past Liberty. Like, I don't know. I wasn't in the preparation for that. But it needs to be mentioned what happened with Liberty.
I didn't think about that. That's a good one. I didn't think about that one. I'm still going to Arkansas. Jay, how about you, man?
The Liberty game concerns me, especially walking in with better talent. But we had this conversation. We talked about the Arkansas schedule and how Arkansas really has a beeline to 10 wins this season, basically saving Sam Pittman's job. This is one of those games that he has to win. He has to seal the deal here with Hugh Freeze being a first-time coach and him having a veteran presence of setup there. Yeah, now the Kendall Browse loss, it's probably going to show. It's going to probably show its head at some capacity this season. But overall, I think Arkansas does enough with KJ Jefferson and wins this game.
Chris,
I second exactly what Jay just said. I just don't see how how Auburn goes into Arkansas and gets that win. I think this will be one of those games where it'll be a grinded out game. I think this will be. I mean, depending on the season, this could either be a SEC Network Plus game, or this could be a pretty much a 2:30 game right there in that window on that given Saturday. So definitely, I'll go with Arkansas on that.
All right. So I think we're all in agreement on that one. Next game. Okay, we're not going to talk about them. The Mexico State. I mean, come on. I think we know who's going to win that one. I got Auburn winning this one. And then the last one's Alabama. I mean, do we need to talk about
What's
Alabama?
their record? What's their record heading
All right, what
into
we
the
doing,
game?
man? What we doing, Ty?
Look, it's
Steven,
in
hold
Jordan,
on. What we doing, Ty?
It's in Jordan Hare. Hugh Freeze has had Nick Saban's number with that offense. I think I'm going to pick Alabama to win it because I just don't think Auburn's in the place yet to do it. But you cannot overlook Auburn and Hugh Freeze. He's a really creative play caller. I think a few things help Alabama in this circumstance. One, the running back room. And Tommy Rees is offensive coordinator with the offensive line. They're going to pound the ball against Auburn. I mean, they're just going to make it bloody. Two, you already heard Dallas Turner talking about how the attitude on this team is different, and he felt like Joyless Murder Ball was back. And that was something that was great to hear him say, that he felt like Joyless Murder Ball was back at Alabama. And then finally, I think that that's not a team Bama's going to overlook this year. Bama was one of the most penalized teams in the country last year. uncharacteristically undisciplined, and I just don't think that's going to be the case this year. So I got Alabama in the game.
Okay, so first off, not so fast, my friend. Let me draw your attention to me. First off, let's just put it like this right here. I went to my kitchen last night, and I was thinking about this. I was like, man, I hope we talk about Auburn tomorrow, because this is what I'm going to tell Ty. I got Auburn over Bama, okay? I got Auburn by 40. I know I say that a lot, but this is why I say that. Robbie Ashford is going to pick on Kool-Aid McKinstry, okay? I was making some Kool-Aid last night, and I said, man, you know what? This tastes like crap. And you know what? I said, man, it's going to be a long night for y'all. This is the year, Ty. Y'all have been tripping up against Auburn these past couple of years. Well, not last year, but the year before that. The year before that, too. I think this is the year that Auburn trips y'all up. It's at Jordan-Hare. You already know they have nothing to lose. They're going to go out there and throw the kitchen sink at y'all last game of the season. I think this is the year. Auburn by 40.
Oh, okay.
That's just nonsensical.
Steven.
It's preposterous.
Steven, how about you, man?
I'm gonna have to start rocking a Dare T-shirt on here.
Old school on them.
The old school, check on your friends, check on your loved one. That's what addiction looks like, guys.
You hear the commercials with the frying pan? This is an egg. This is your brain. This is your brain on crack. My bad, Chris.
I have Alabama in this one. I think what Ty said, it's a rivalry game, and we know what it is in the Iron Bowl and everything that's here. But from a personnel standpoint, Ty's points about Auburn's run defense, I can't get that out of my mind. And I think that's going to allow Alabama to control the football game, whether or not they're efficient passing the ball, and honestly keep Hugh Freeze's offensive attack at bay. Hugh Freeze will be ready for this game, so I don't think it'll be a blowout, or it could be a game where Alabama kind of, ends up winning by 17 going away, but it was competitive. That's the type of football game I see here. And I think that's going to be a game where Alabama's probably going to need it to try to get to the SEC championship game, depending on some things. So that's kind of how I see this playing out. I got Bama.
Jay.
Are we really doing this?
Yeah,
are we really sitting here having even any type of consideration about Hugh Freeze winning this game his first year?
Yeah,
I'm
with you.
I mean, seriously, I would normally like to try to evaluate things like this, but Nick Saban's coming off a year that was mediocre in his mindset. And if there's one team I think Bama struggles with this year, it's potentially LSU.
Yeah.
That's it. They're going to destroy Auburn in this game. Now, I know really weird things happen at Jordan-Hare. I know, and Ty, you tell me this all the time. It's like, dude, the place is cursed. It's weird. Crazy stuff happened there. Totally get it. This should be like 55-14. This should be a shellacking this year, just so that Saban slaps him around and reminds him, hey, Hughes, you may have done well at Ole Miss, but you ain't doing ish here. It's not going down. I'm going with Alabama.
All right, I guess I'm last on this one. I got Alabama. Folks, I think Alabama is going to play bully ball this year. They don't know. I don't think anybody's sold on who their starting quarterback is going to be this year. There's a lot of options there, but I think Saban's going to go bully ball this year on offense and defense. I think the Kevin Steele hire was to get back to the basics, like for the defensive side of the ball. I think with them not being sure on what kind of offense they want to run with what kind of quarterback that they're going to have, I think they're just going to pound the ball like crazy. And I think Saban's going to get back to the basics. And folks, when Saban has gone to the basics, that's when he's won the bulk of his championships. It hasn't been when he's had an all-star quarterback. It's been when he's had a hell of a running game, a great offensive line, and a defense that will bore you to death, but they're going to keep you under 17 points a game. And I think they're going to play bully ball and beat the crap out of Auburn this year. I got them beating Auburn. It might not look like a blowout, but it's going to be so one-sided, it's going to feel like one. I got them beating them like 24-7.
Jesus.
I love it.
But that's it, folks.
I'll you know what? I'm gonna stand steadfast on my hill. I'll die on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if it do go south, I don't want none of y'all to come get me. Have Ty come get me. Have Ty come get me off my hill.
It's gonna be like
I'm leaving you
in the room, bro. That's sad.
Oh man.
Oh man.
That's
So do you want me to
hilarious.
go through what we have them at?
Yeah.
What we got?
Yeah, let's
Wrap
go
it
through
up.
in this thing.
Chris and Jay have them at 8 and 4. Nick, you and I 7 and 5, and Steven has them at 6 and 6. So all within the realm of where Vegas sees them, because we all talked about A&M and Ole Miss being really interesting games that could go one way or another. So that's right in line with what Vegas is thinking.
Perfect. So, all right, folks, we went an hour today. SEC Connect. Hey, folks, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Go like on this video. If you're in the chat, we got 87 people in the chat right now. We were as high as 117. Press the like button, folks. It means a lot. Helps us grow this channel a lot. I think we're at 260 subscribers so far. We're going to try to press this thing to 1,000 subscribers by the time the season starts, folks. But hey, like, comment, subscribe, and share. But on that note, folks, man, look, I'm out, folks. I know we're all out. And until next Wednesday, right?
Yep. See y'all soon.
All right. Horns always up, damn it. Pow.
I love y'all.
There's
only one.